You got some buyers you're working with and they found the house they like, and now it's time to submit an offer. How do you fill out that purchase contract correctly? Well, that's what I'm going to take you through today. The contract we're going to be going through today is the as-is contract. There are a lot of similarities between the as-is and the standard contract. Really, the main way they differ is in the repair requests. If you have to fill out either one, this video will be helpful for you because there's more similarities than differences. I'm just going to go through line by line and tell you where to get each piece of information and what to put there. First section, parties. You want to use full legal names. For the seller, you want to use the name that is on the deed for the house. And then for the buyer, make sure you're using their full legal name as it appears on their driver's license. Property description, make sure you get the address correct, all that. Tax ID right here. Again, that is also found on the property appraiser website, so you can find that there. Legal description is also found on the appraiser website. You need to check to see if it's in the meets and bounds format or if it's lot and block format. If it's in either one, that's fine, but make sure the whole thing gets in there. You need to make sure you read this section right here very carefully because you need to understand what is supposed to convey when somebody buys a house. There's a good chance that your buyer is going to ask you what's included, so you need to know. And when it comes time for the final walkthrough, you need to make sure that everything is still there. If there's anything random that the buyer wants that doesn't really have any value, you can throw that here in section D. Next section down here is purchase price. You're just going to put the purchase price that you guys are offering for the house. Next line right here is the initial deposit. That's the EMD amount. So typically that's around 1%, but you want to talk to people and figure out what the norm is. These two check boxes right here, the accompany offer or to be made within. Typically the deposit is going to be made within 3 days. So you would check this right here and then you would put in 3 right here or just leave it blank. This section right here, the escrow agent, this is where you put in all the title company information where you're going to be closing and giving your EMD. If there are any additional deposits, which there's probably not going to be, you'd put them in here. Financing amount, you put that right here, the dollar amount or the percentage. So if it's like a VA loan, then it's 100% financing. Conventional might be 80% financing. This other section, you're probably going to leave that blank. Your balance to close right here is just going to be your purchase price minus your EMD. That's what you put right there. Section 3, your time for acceptance. This is your response time. You can put whatever you want here. It's situationally dependent. There's probably not going to be a time where you give them more than 2 days for a response time. And if you actually want a response by a certain time of day, you can put that in here too. So you could say, so today is October 29, so you could put in October 30th by 4 p.m. So that's kind of normally what I do. Right here is where you put in the closing date. So I typically will go out like 32 days if it's a financing deal, just to give them a couple days of response time for the offer and then 30 days on the close. Section 8 for the financing. If it's a cash deal, you're going to click this box right here. If it is a financing deal, you're going to click this box B right here. And this is your financing contingency. You need to really be familiar with this section. This box right here is very important. It's your loan approval period. If you are coming up on this loan approval period right here, like if this is about to expire and you have not closed yet, make sure that you get some kind of extension for that loan approval period, because if you go past that and they have not received financing, there's a good chance that your buyers could lose their deposit. Then you click on what type of financing they're using. So if it's a VA, you click VA, or conventional, check that, FHA. And then you want to click fixed, and then you can just leave the rest of the boxes blank and they'll be fine. Scrolling down just kind of goes through more details of the financing approval period. Again, make sure you are very, very familiar with that. This section right here just goes over the different costs that are included with the sale and who is going to pay each side. So if something comes up where somebody's trying to charge the buyer an estoppel fee, for example, you need to go in here in the contract and say, nope, the estoppel fee is a seller fee. This section 9 is a very important section because it details each party's responsibilities and you need to be aware of both sides. Title evidence insurance, this doesn't come up a lot. You can just leave that blank or put in 15 right there. These boxes are very important because checking this box determines who picks the closing title company and who pays the owner's title charges. Those title charges can usually be around $2,000. Typically, like kind of the standard is that the seller pays for them. In competitive situations, you could suggest to your buyer that they pay that, and it would just add a little bit of net to the seller's bottom line. But normally the seller pays for it. Just be aware of the situation that you're in and understand that whoever checks this box is looking at around a $2,000 charge. On line 174, the Miami-Dade Broward regional provision, if you're not in that area, you don't have to worry about it. Who's going to pay the survey comes up a lot, technically based off of the contract. It is a buyer's expense. It's right here. If the seller has one, that's awesome. If the seller doesn't have one, what you can do is try to find the title company that the house closed with the last time it sold, and that title company might have a survey on file and may be able to use that as long as nothing changed at the house. As far as home warranties go, like a year ago, it was pretty hard to get sellers to pay for a home warranty because everything had multiple offers. And if you're asking for that home warranty, it makes your offer look a little bit less competitive. But now that the market has shifted a little bit, it's pretty easy to get a home warranty from the seller. So you could say, check this, check that you want a home warranty from the seller. Then get with a company like American Home Shield and look at their plans and see how much a home warranty costs. This section right here about special assessments, you just need one checked. I normally have box A checked. I would leave this blank or just leave 20 in there. In this box right here is what you want your inspection period to be. I wouldn't put anything lower than 10 days in here unless you have an inspector who's lined up and you know that you can get an appointment in there. Anything less than 10 days, it just makes things very hard to get the timeline right. But in very competitive situations, I have gone down as low as 7 days in here. If there are multiple offers that the seller is looking at, having a shorter inspection period is something that's going to be a little bit more attractive to them because they know if anything goes wrong, they can put their house back on the market sooner. Your addenda and additional terms, this is where you're going to just check any boxes if you have some sort of addendum attached with your offer. So if you had VA financing, you would just check this box right here. Or if you wanted to put an appraisal contingency, or you have, if the house is in an HOA, you check this box right here too. Section 20 is the additional terms. This box can get a little weird. There's really no rules saying that, this can or can't be in the contract. So, if there's something that you want to negotiate, throw it in the additional terms. Everything is up for negotiations. This box right here, the seller counters buyer offer, you're going to leave that box alone. If you're on the listing side and someone sends you an offer that you want to counter, that's when you would check this little box. So you would check this and send this over with your counteroffer attached. All right, then you go down right here. These are the signatures for the offer. So you would have your buyer sign and your buyer sign right here, and then make sure they date. Don't put in anything right here for the seller because you're going to send that offer over to the seller and hopefully they sign it because that means your offer is accepted. You can put both parties' addresses in here for the purpose of notice. I typically don't. It's not really necessary. Now everything gets sent electronically anyways, so it's really not a big deal. Then the very last part, the cooperating sales associate, also known as the selling agent. This is the buying agent. Hopefully it is you. So you would put your name in here and then the name of your brokerage. Make sure you look at that listing, see who the listing agent is, and put that right here. And then their company as well, the listing brokerage. And that's it, as this contract is filled out. If you have any questions about this contract, make sure you put them down in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. And if you fill out your offer and you send it over and it gets accepted and you want to know what to do next, I made this video that lets you know what to do after your offer gets accepted.